Beacon Press Audio presents The Princess and the Prophet, The Secret History of Magic, Race, and Moorish Muslims in America, by Jacob S. Dorman. This audiobook is narrated by Ruen, published by Beacon Press Audio, 2019. Introduction. Organic Mosaics. The imaginative capacity of subordinate groups to reverse and/or negate dominant ideologies is so widespread, if not universal, that it might be considered part and parcel of their standard cultural and religious equipment. Properly understood, any hegemonic ideology contains within itself the raw material for contradiction and conflict. James C. Scott. The world of Apocrypha is a world of books made real, which may well be understood and appreciated by readers of Borges, Calvino, Lewis Carroll, or certain of the Sufis. In the world of Apocrypha, the images of established religion and canonical texts acquire a kind of mutability, a tendency to drift, to reflect the subjectivities of the, often anonymous, visionaries, who sift through fragments in order to produce more fragments, so that texts become fluid organic mosaics with replaceable parts, each bit catching and reflecting a shard of light, like a magpie's hoard. And thus are born the scriptures of heresies, the canons of the Gnostics, the fugitive poetics of self-revelation, the rants of the cults of love and light. Peter Lamborn Wilson, a.k.a. Hakim Bey. A wise man once said, "There are no religions which are false. All are true in their own fashion." Religions are socially useful, and true in that they work. They make sense to those who believe in them, and they help those who believe them to make sense of the world. They help explain pain, death, and suffering, pleasure and joy, labor and its rewards, sin and its consequences. And so the usefulness of religion doesn't depend on its truthfulness, any more than the usefulness of Alice depends on the accuracy of her wonderland. The story of the birth of the Moorish Science Temple, and the precursor to the Black Muslims of the Nation of Islam, is truly more wonderful than I could have imagined when I set out to tell this tale 17 years ago. Nor could I have imagined that its central character, noble Drew Ali, would transform himself so many times in so many death-defying ways. Follow me, then, down a wormhole into the not-so-distant past, and find a cast of characters and a sequence of events all the more extraordinary because they are true. We are late. All the people in this saga are no more, as are virtually everyone they ever knew. The story I have to tell lies just south of living memory, sticking up here and there like scattered potsherds from an ancient age. It is the product of sifting thousands of brittle circus programs, lithographs, letters, and newspaper pages, their leaden ink on wood pulp turned hard and orange with age, so that they crumble at the touch. On occasion, a relative few of those broadsheets get filmed, and the results captured with optical character recognition, digitized and bundled into subscriptions sold to great research universities, and searchable by the millions of pages per second. In those versions, some of the shadows we seek leave furtive tracings, and from them we can begin to piece together trajectories, outlines, the slightest suggestion of a form. If we're lucky, and I've been very lucky, we find photographs, and within the very pores of those faces, still more clues and questions emerge. But most of the printed past, even the not-so-distant past, fades from sight and has long since given up the ghost. It is all the harder to find evidence of secret societies, and criminal rackets by their very nature resist exposure. The most secretive actions are seldom committed to paper in the first place. Names carved in stone tend to endure, but in a hubristic age fueled by knowledge, when algorithms stalk our every move, practicing history is humbling, and illustrates that what we don't know about the world is vastly greater than what we do know. Taking this journey requires expanding the customary narratives of U.S. history in the Gilded Age and Progressive eras with wider geographical and topical scopes, while also attending to the political racketeering, corruption, and graft that was endemic in big cities in general, and Chicago in particular. The end of the 19th and beginning of the 20th centuries featured incredible conflicts between capitalists and workers that bordered on warfare. There were influxes of millions of immigrants, great urban political machines vying for votes and dispensing hundreds of thousands of jobs, and progressive programs to reform the nation and save its soul that revolutionized government, social services, and faith alike. Inventors like Thomas Alva Edison gave the world electrical generators, electric lights, telephones, and moving pictures, while the automobile upended every aspect of life. With so many new people, new industries, new inventions, new forms of corruption, and new social pressures, the Gilded Age also saw a tremendous series of social revolutions. Thrust together in unfamiliar cities, men and women of all classes and regions tested and tried new gender roles. Earning wages opened up new opportunities and time for leisure. Among migrants to the burgeoning cities, chances to earn wages, live with greater independence, and attend novel entertainments like dance halls led to a late 19th century sexual revolution. These processes, conflicts, and crusades were so great that they overspilled the nation's borders. During the Gilded Age, the United States conquered, resettled, and ruled American Indian nations, and American industrialists and missionaries alike ventured around the globe, not far behind the consumer goods that spread the American manufacturing empire even beyond where steamships and steam locomotives could reach. Religion itself was busy being transformed as well. The Methodist Church mushroomed across a grief-stricken nation after the Civil War, as did an offshoot of Methodism and the Baptist faith known as holiness, and its offspring, Pentecostalism. The religious revivals of the time affected the cities as much or more than the countryside. Great revivalists like Dwight Moody set up shop in American towns such as Chicago. Cities filled up with church spires. Approximately 2 million Ashkenazi Jews fled persecution in the Russian Empire and found new homes in the United States of America, while the numbers of Muslims in America were very small. Even most Lebanese Arabs who immigrated at the end of the 19th century were Christians. In the face of the wave of Christian enthusiasm, a counterstream of occultists peddled alternative faiths, many of which proclaim the sanctity of the Orient, the Oriental travels of Jesus, or the spiritual wisdom of Tibet, India, and Arabia. Not infrequently, these alternative faiths drew much of their power from sexual energies, tapping into the era's repressed animal spirits and the seemingly endless human appetite for erotic encounter with the other, variously construed. There were no old-time religions at the turn of the century. These were all new religions, all in flux. In the Gilded Age, the Orient appealed to Black Americans as an antidote to Western materialism, as a place fantastically strange and wondrously exotic, and as a cultured, heterogeneous repudiation of the sterility and dumb brutality of Jim Crow oppression. Black Americans such as Frederick Douglass visited the pyramids. The Reverend Edward Wilmot Blyden, a minister born in St. Vincent, admired West African Islam from his adopted Liberian home, though he never thought that Islam was superior to Christianity, as some have thought. Rather, he viewed Islam as a kind of intermediate monotheism that was far better than Christianity at winning converts in Africa, and might be used by missionaries like himself as a means of bringing followers to the higher truths of Christianity. By the end of his life, he taught that Mohammedanism is the form of Christianity best adapted to the Negro race, and that Islam is the form that Christianity takes in Africa. In Shakespeare's 1603 masterpiece, The Tragedy of Othello, the Moor of Venice, literature's most famous Moor vainly pleaded, "Men should be what they seem." Yet many of the most interesting men in the development of Moorish American forms of Islam were anything but what they seemed. A London-based black actor, journalist, political activist, and serial entrepreneur who variously called himself Duz Muhammad and Duse Muhammad Ali, took his first name in honor of the Victorian actress Eleanor Duse, and cooked up a preposterous or
Sample complete. Ready to continue?